Hey, I am the composer and poet Andrew Lloyd Fry, and this is the Poem Explained. So today I'm going to be talking about a poem from my book, A New Kind of Air, and this poem is entitled Forced Perspective. So a little bit of context of what makes this poem stand out from the rest of the book is this book, much more than my first collection of poetry, I wanted the poems to be pretty simple, and I didn't want to get too crazy with, like complex symbolism, or even just things that maybe I think there's times where it's like, this is really meaningful to me, but I know it just wouldn't translate to someone picking up the book. And there's a little bit of that, but I really tried to keep the poems a little bit more conversational. And it's like simple but deep was kind of like what I was going for. And a lot of it is like these poems coming out of this place of like struggle. And if you know the context, this is about like an extreme health crisis experienced by my wife. And it's like I'm writing the poems for her, and I'm writing the poems for anybody who's in a similar situation, whether that's health or emotional or relational. It's kind of like these are poems for a season of crisis as like encouragement and perspective and things like that. And it's like, well, somebody in that place does not want something that's like really hard to read. It's got to be easy. It's got to be more transparent. So overall, that's kind of what I was going for the book. And it's, again, much more of like a conversational tone. There's a couple of poems where I didn't do that. And I thought, well, I can have one or two thrown in there that aren't that. And it's just this is one of them. So this is one where it's just like, this feels a little richer poetically and a little less transparent. So I wanted to just talk about this poem and what's going on, and some of the things behind the poem. So again, this is called Forced Perspective. Now the title, I'm a piano teacher, and one of my 8-year-old students was telling me about this science video he made for a competition, and it was all about forced perspective. And that, I didn't really think of it at the time, but that's kind of what brought it to my attention. And then sometime after that lesson, I'm working on giving my poems titles, and it's like, yes, that fits perfectly. So thank you, piano student, for that title. And forced perspective is like this idea of like things can look big or small, kind of as like an illusion, depending on like their context and like how they're arranged. And if one's closer to you and one's far away, that can kind of create this illusion of bigness or smallness. So that's kind of like the idea behind the title. Okay, now this one, the other thing I think that sets this apart is there is a little bit more a sense of like flow, and again, a little less conversational, a little bit less like talking, and more of like a flow. And there's kind of like some, not rhymes, but kind of like word echoes or like half rhymes. So like the first 3 lines, the shapes are redefined through the lens of unending time. So redefined in time. It's like it's not a rhyme, but you can hear how there's that kind of like echo sound within the word. And I really gravitate to that kind of thing where it's like this, for some reason this word feels right and I don't know why. And I like that not being like crystal clear, and rhymes, just like straight up rhymes, it is crystal clear. So I like that being a little bit more abstracted and redefined in time. And then also just the sense of like meter there. The shapes are redefined through the lens of unending time. Like there's that sense of like flow and almost like music to those lines. Okay, next 3 lines. When you see time, actually, let me go back and talk about those first 3 lines. So the shapes are redefined through the lens of an unending time. So that would be like the shapes, kind of like your problems look completely different if you see them in this really big picture. So that's going back to this idea of forced perspective. And when we're in the middle of them, it feels like this is like the whole universe, my problem, my sickness, my emotional distress, my relational problem. And it's like if we zoom back and see this in this picture of eternity, it's like, wow, this is like a speck. This is like almost nothing. And I think that can feel really nice, not feeling like my problem is the whole universe. It's like, oh, it's just like a tiny little blip in this place. Okay, next set of lines. When you see time like a ball floating in unending space. So now we're like, it's kind of like zooming out again, and like all of time that we've experienced is that blip. So our problem, if we just look in like the arc of time, it's a speck. And if we zoom back again, you know, the time is also a speck. So like a speck within a speck. So we're like, you know, zooming out here. And then obviously I'm using time again. And I actually really like word repetition. And it's kind of like a rhyme. And I think without like meter and without rhyme, just like this repetition of words is something I really gravitate to. So it's like line 3 of unending time, line 4, when you see time. For some reason, I really like that. I do that a lot. Okay, going on to line 7. Then like a sphere constructed of soap and air, the manifold catastrophes become almost less than nothing. So we have sphere, and the line before that was space. So we have the SP sound. And then as far as like the meaning there, then like a sphere constructed of soap and air, the manifold catastrophes become almost less than nothing. So seeing all our problems, now we're kind of changing the view and seeing all our problems as a bubble of air, which is very temporary, very fragile, and like a soap bubble of air, by the way. And it's like that's like 3 seconds, and then it pops, and it's like gone forever. So again, it's just this idea of like putting things in perspective, and our problems, our struggles, our disappointments, we're dwarfing them because we define things relatively. And I think that's a really good undercurrent of this whole poem, is like we really define things by what they're up against. It's like, is the earth big or small? It's like, well, it depends on what your reference point is. It's like, to the sun, it's small. To us, it's big. And using that tool as an emotional tool to be less overwhelmed, really. Okay, so we're going on to line 6. This is 12. Because they too are stuck in time and will never be able to leave. So they is referring to the manifold catastrophes. So they are stuck in that speck of time, and the implication is we are not stuck in that speck of time, and we will actually transcend time. And that goes down to the last line. So I will leave them behind. So it's like, I will transcend time. Right now I'm in time. My struggles, my problems, the catastrophes, they are stuck in this dimension. So, and then as far as the word things going on there, we have time come back. So I just keep time is this word that keeps being echoed through this poem. And then behind, I will leave them behind. Again, we have that like kind of the like partial rhyme with time. Now, when I wrote this, interestingly, like I don't think I was like consciously, let me do these partial rhymes and let me, like make this feel like the right word because it's kind of an echo of part of that word. That just happened, and then looking back, it's like, there's all these little relationships that are happening, which I think is pretty interesting when that's unintentional. That it's just like kind of the mystery of the subconscious and the conscious, and just like, not just kind of like doing things. And you look back and it's like, oh, wow, that's cool. Okay, so that's all I want to say for this poem. I'm just going to read through it now all together. So again, this is my book, A New Kind of Air. And this is the poem Forced Perspective. The shapes are redefined through the lens of unending time. When you see time like a ball floating in unending space. Then like a sphere constructed of soap and air, the manifold catastrophes become almost less than nothing. Because they too are stuck in time and will never be able to leave. So I will leave them behind.